Greetings metalheads, welcome to another edition of the Friday the 13th YouTube channel. Today you're going to be listening to a classic interview. This was recorded back in 1991 with Irish rockers Mama's Boys. As we all know, this was set up as a power trio by three brothers, John, Tommy and Pat McManus. This interview was done with Pat McManus at the Leeds Duchess of York in England. As we all know, the Mama's Boys were very popular back in the early 80s and they did some really good albums. For instance, we've got Plug It In, which was released in 1982, the band's debut. Then we've got Teared It Up, which was released in 1983. And the great album Power and Passion 1985, which I think is a great album. A lot of success with that album. Like I said, this interview was conducted for the Live Tonight album, which was recorded live. It's a great album, you want to check it out. Like I said, this is a classic interview from way back in 1991. So please listen, enjoy. Give a thumbs up, spread the word, share on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any sites you can. Much appreciate it. Anyway, metalheads, stay safe. Thanks for watching and listening, and I'll speak to you all soon. Plenty more classic interviews coming. Cheers.
Right then, Pat, interview with Mama's Boys. Pat, first of all, could you tell me about the band's history under the form?
Lord, I mean, that's quite some time ago now. I mean, I think we started playing professionally around 81, and that's when we did our first album. We hadn't... I mean, we weren't even. It was more for fun. It was never an intention to start out and become, like a mega successful rock band. That was never the intention of the band. It was just like, because we played Irish music and stuff, our whole background was sort of, you played music for pleasure. It never was for the stardom or the bright lights or whatever. And we, bit by bit, it sort of took off from there. One thing led to another, and people kept, saying, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? And it just led, what I'm saying, it led one thing led to another. I don't think if we had known what was involved we would have ever bothered, because it was just a fun aspect for us, It was never like we wanted to go out on the road. We didn't even know what it entailed, And bit by bit we got sucked into it. And before we knew it, we were playing on the same stages as some of our heroes, and it wasn't, it's almost like the drive to go further ahead was, well, this is no big deal. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all we ever thought about was stand on the same stage, and then when we got there, we were looking for something else, and bit by bit we just started to continue doing that. So that's how, it's about 81 we started professionally to play. And when we didn't start playing the instruments till about 18 months, maybe 2 years before that. We'd never played guitars or drums, nothing like that at all. We never even listened to rock music. I mean, that's a strange thing to say, but I think it was around 79, 80 when the new wave of British heavy metal came into the fore. We had missed out on the likes of Zeppelin and all that. We knew nothing. We didn't even know it existed, because where we came from, we just played all Irish music and never really listened to the radio in terms of, popular or rock music. And of course we got turned on to it, something serious, there was an energy and excitement there that we'd never hadn't or heard, and we just loved it, and from there on in we were hooked. Because the punk thing was big at the time, right? So people often used to say to us,
Never was a big punk fan.
No, people say, well, why don't you jump on the bandwagon and be a punk fan and become, that was the in thing at the minute. We were being called, geez, they're very dated, they're playing rock music, or dinosaur music, they were calling it and everything. But we stuck because we liked playing it. It wasn't that, and then all of a sudden this new surge of British heavy metal bands came through, and we were kind of sort of followed in on that. We weren't there initially because we were too young. We weren't that far. But it was about 83, 84 that we really started making moves then. At the height of like the Saxon fame and stuff like that. Then that's when we really started to do things. So then there was a period of time where we were doing really well, and we had done a couple of trips in America where we'd been playing with the likes of Bon Jovi and Rat. And we Rush and YMT and Blackfoot, and we had it really going well, And I suppose in many respects we were on the verge of breaking right through. And then Tommy became ill. And that nearly put us up the road for 3 years. It did, in fact, And it became a very difficult period for us because we didn't want to play it without him, being the three brothers and all. And as in many respects we had a lot of time on our hands to think about what we were doing. And as he was getting better and down in the hospital or whatever, and it was that time we made a conscious decision maybe to get somebody else in. Because there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure on us as three brothers. It's different if there's 4 or 5 different individuals in the band. You can sort of lean on each other, But because it was the 3 of us, we felt it enough because we were very close, And it was like one person with all the pressure, if you know what I'm saying. And we thought, well, it would be nice just to bring in somebody else and just take a weight off our shoulders, because it's becoming really a burden. We weren't beginning to, we were losing the enjoyment factor, and we always like to enjoy ourselves when we play, regardless to how many's there, you know. And it was starting to become a bit of a chore to us, and we thought, this is not right, you know. And that's when we made a conscious decision around that time, when Tommy was getting better, to go and get somebody to sing. And that's when we did Growing Up the Hard Way album then, which was about 86, 87. We recorded it during 86 and 87, through periods of time when Tommy was getting better, you know. And that was the only thing really we've done since then, you know. And Keith didn't really stay in the band that long.
Is that the old singer that played on the last album?
That's correct. And it was a very bland album, to be honest with you.
I never actually got a chance to hear it.
It was very Americanized, and it wasn't us. And it was like, I was hanging around doing nothing, waiting for Tommy to get better, right? So I was called over to London to write songs. And every song I submitted to them, they kept turning it down, saying it wasn't commercial enough. And they got my back up, right? So I says, well, I'll bloody well show you, you know. And of course, got really pig-headed about it. And went in and tried to really write commercial songs, and that wasn't good enough. Submitted another one, it wasn't good enough. And in the end, they said, yeah, there's a couple here that might go as singles. But what happened was I had an album full of songs that were bland then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know you had a video out for that album.
That's right. You know, and we ended up with, and we realised at the end of it, oh my God, you know, it's an album full of like semi-hit songs, you know, like of commercial blandness. And we knew we'd made a bollocks of it, you know, to be honest with you, you know. And we just let it filter out with the record company. We weren't too happy with them, to be honest with you. They didn't really know how to.
What label was it on?
It was on Jive. They had
the same as the Power and Passion album.
That's right. And they also had, at the same time, they had Slave Raiders, and they had the McCoy, you know, John McCoy, the big band. What do you call the big band that they formed? Mammoth. And they made a balls of them as well, to be honest with you.
They were big guys.
You know, I'm going to be able to speak plain English here. They made a complete mess of them, and they'd done the same to us, and we thought, well, bloody hell, you know, we don't care if the option is exercised on the next album or not, because we want to get out of this entanglement. And we did. And then Keith left, of course, because he was really more money orientated. All he was interested in was making loads of money, you know. So he ended up with Cliff Richard.
Sorry?
Doing backing vocals for Cliff Richard.
Oh yeah.
That's what he ended up doing.
I heard about that,
That's right, you know, stiff-filtered as we call him. But we went on the hunt again, and it almost took us 2 years to find Mike.
What band was he in before?
He wasn't in any bands. He had done a lot of work. The demo we heard, it was actually Bon Jovi he was singing with, believe it or not. Richie had heard him singing and came over and went over to Puck Studios in Sweden, I think it is. And they brought Mike over, and the only one who wasn't there was John Bon Jovi. The rest of the whole band, everybody, and because they were setting up their label, you know, that they have with Cinderella, and you know the way they have this Cinderella, Skid Row, and all that discovered those. So they found Mike and thought he had serious potential. And Richie actually, they did the whole play on the demos and everything for him. I mean, Mike didn't ask them; it was something they wanted to do, you know. And that's how we heard the demo, and they wanted him to move to America. And Mike didn't want to move to America. I think Richie had designs on him, maybe singing on his solo album. And Mike didn't want to move to America because, you know, you can get a very distorted view of life if you go over there, especially if you're dealing with people who have just obtained lots and lots and lots of money, you know. But for good luck to them, I'm not having to say it, but you tend to go a bit crazy. Mike was afraid that he might get caught up in the trappings of or the seedier side of the business, you know, and he didn't want that. So he says, no, I'm going to cool out in Brighton, I'm all right where I am, because he's originally from the northeast, he's from Redcar. And that's where he born, or bred. He was born in Aberdeen and was reared in Redcar. And he didn't want to go through all that crap, you know, so he declined the offer and was sitting around doing nothing. And we heard the demo and we said, you know, just this sounds really good, you know, we'd like. So we got together and we wrote for about 9 months together. We've loads of songs we haven't even played live, but we don't want to play them all live because then there'd be nothing for the new album. Everybody would have heard them.
I'm looking forward to the new album.
And we wrote for about 9 months, and then we decided it was time to go down the road. And this is the start of it now, you know. We went to Europe just before Christmas and recorded. We thought, what is the best way of raising the profile of the band without, you know, being out too much expenditure, because we hadn't got a record deal at the time. We weren't interested in really going to the biggies again, unless they were going to speak in our terms. And honestly with you, you know, in this present state of the business, You know,
Small labels
the
are the
people
best.
are getting signed all right, but they're getting piddly deals, you know, like, and it's really stupid, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in that. We've been through that stage, and we don't want to do that again. So we said we'd keep control of the situation ourselves, and we went and recorded the album ourselves. We did it in Spain. We did it one night in Barcelona, one night in Solothurn in Switzerland, and one night in Telfs in Austria.
Yeah.
And we took just the best songs out of those three shows, and just bunged them on an album and said that was it. There's no overdubs. There's nothing happening.
How did you get the same sound for each song when it was recorded at different places?
We don't. If you listen very carefully, the likes of Needle in the Groove is totally different.
I know there's some places it fades out.
But that is the different places, because there was one, like, there was 3,500 in Barcelona.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah.
And the next night in Solothurn there was 1,800 to 2,000 there, and the next night it was a club. You know, so you can actually tell the venues where we're actually playing. I know, I can hear it a mile off. You know.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether people notice. And we just went in and mixed it in a day. And we did it ourselves, and we just licensed it out to the different, like, Music for Nations here, and we licensed it out to different people in all over Europe, you know.
Labels are in America.
We haven't even bothered with America.
Well, you're going to try and market it?
No.
Why's that then?
I don't know. I mean, to many bands, America's the ultimate aim, but I'm not interested, to be honest with you. You know, I think with the advent of 1992, and there are enough countries, and Russia's starting to open up, and all these different Eastern Bloc countries open up, we're going to have our hands full already, you know.
They've never met before now.
That's right, you know, so we want to concentrate on those areas and do our job there, you know. Fuck America. You know, it's not the be end all of everything. I'd rather play here than play in America, you know. You know, because, you know, it takes years and years to break America, you know, and politics of the business, you know.
PMSC.
Yeah, you know, yes, you know, you haven't read The Hitman, it's called. It's about how bands break in America and what money's paid. Well, you should buy it. It's a fabulous book called The Hitman, and you believe the shit that goes down on the promotion side. You won't believe. I mean, there's been houses bought, people killed to get top #1 records over there. So it's all a mafioso type thing.
Yeah.
It's heavy infiltrated by the mafia. I don't mind saying that. I don't care what anybody says to me or not about it, but that's true. And as long as that's going to, I mean, of course we'd like to. I mean, it'd be a great feather in our cap if we could break America, but we're not going to lose any sleep over it, you know. We'd rather concentrate in the areas where we can play and have easy mobility to get to those places, you know. And it's like I've seen so many bands disappear off to America and lose it when they come back here because it's been so long. And it's not the band's fault. You cannot. I know that some of the bands think, bands being greedy. They want to break America. They want to be millionaires. They want to be. It's not the case. You're dealing with record companies. You've got commitments. You might owe 500,000 to a record company, and they say you go to America, you bloody well go. You know, it's not whether you like it or not. For instance, the likes of Saxon, for instance. Saxon had to go out there and try and break America because that's what the record company demanded of them. It's not a question of the band. I mean, and as soon as they split from the record company and they became their own bosses, they got back again and they're starting to build really well up again.
They were on Road Records.
Yeah, that's right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, it's not. You can't blame the bands all the time.
It's the major labels. You want to be on an indie label.
Well, that's what we're doing at presently, you know, and we're quite happy.
The best labels.
Yes, it is. It is. It's really working well.
You can do what you want. Not like a major label saying you do this now for
that is correct, you know, and you have full artistic control over everything you do. So if you don't want to put something out, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that, it's fine. They allow that, and there's none of this the big wigs coming in trying to tell you what to do, you know, and thinking that they know better than you. They don't, because if you don't believe in what you do, the fans certainly won't believe in it, you know. So that's the and that's how we feel about it presently, you know. And we're very, very happy. We reckon is the best band we've had for ages, you know, and we're really, really pleased. And we're really happy with the way Mike's singing. And, you know, we're getting on as individuals as well, you know. At that point, you can put that the idiot walks in, you know, during the. He's away. And we really feel content by this time. And, you know, we've had a track record of being very inconsistent. You know what I mean? Like, we disappear do an album and disappear, and that's the last you see of us for 3 years again, you know. And this time we're out to prove a point. And, you know, I was saying, we were just having a discussion the other day about, you know, if you were to compress into actual years, the amount of time we've actually played live, Well, it's only about 4 years' work, you know. You know what I'm saying? In terms of, you know, the amount of tours and stuff we've done. So we haven't, in terms of, yes, the name's been around a long time, but if you can press into a time, the amount of time we've actually played in front of people. That's right. You know, and we haven't done that much really in terms of touring and trying to build a profile of the band, you know. So this is something we want to correct this time round. And I wouldn't do it, you know, unless I felt that we had something left to do. It's not like a chore to us. It never was and it never will be as far as we're concerned. It's not like going through the motion to try and make a few bob. That is not the point of it. I could think of 100 different ways to make more money than I am presently, you know. And that's not the point. I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and I feel we have more to give, much more to give as a band, you know. And, you know, sometimes it takes bands 10 years to develop, you know. I mean, Queensryche were around the same time as us, you know.
They're a good one.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, they started out about the same time as us, and it's only now they're actually breaking through big time, as you know.
On the new album.
That's it, you know, so it takes time to develop, and they've had a more consistent career than we've had, you know. I'm not comparing ourselves to Queensryche or anything like that. I wouldn't be so foolish to do something like that, but what I'm saying is just in terms of, you know, sometimes it takes bands quite a while to build up, you know. And unfortunately we've had more setbacks than you know, than good fortune, and hopefully we've sort of got rid of that kind of setbacks for the time being, and you know, and we can just get on and do some playing.
Can you go through the albums for me? What years it came out? What was the first one? Just for those
Well, the first one we did was the official bootleg, which was like recorded in 4 hours. Completely, mixed everything,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the one with just the logo on the front?
That's the one with just the logo on the front, and that was completely self-financed ourselves. I think it cost £1,000 to do. No, it didn't even cost that. It cost about 800 quid.
Oh.
Yeah, honestly.
I still want that album. I can't get it anywhere. It's pretty hard to come by.
And the next one was Plug It In, which we got 3 days to record. After the second day we were twiddling our thumbs knowing what to do, you know.
Which album was that one? What was the cover on that one?
The cover on that one was just, to Plug It In was like a guitar lead or whatever, or plug on it, and there was just a picture of us on the back, a black one, black cover with Plug It In with. And then there was Turn It Up, which was that was the last of the self-financed albums.
But was that one on?
That was on our own as well. And then that's when we got the deal around 84. It was Drive. And then there came it was kind of the best of Mama's Boys. It wasn't called that, but it was kind of the best of the...
It was Mama Crazy Now.
That's right. It was kind of the best of the 3 albums, because they were never released anywhere really, only in Ireland and maybe a little bit in England, so the rest of the world hadn't heard what we were doing on the other. So we recorded 1 album of the old songs, and then we did Fire and Passion and Growing Up the Hard Way, and that's been it. You know, we haven't done a great deal. We've only had 3 worldwide releases.
This is the one with the girl on the front falling off the chair.
That's Plug It In. That was the second one after. No, that was Turn It Up. Sorry, after Plug It In. It came like about 8-9 months after that.
What's the label, like your own label? What was it called?
I think it was Spartan, yes. That was just a distribution deal. We actually done the albums ourselves. We just they give us a couple of grand and said, here, we want the album for, you know, wherever we can get it out, you know. And it really only was released in Britain and whatever, you know. So it was just, that's when we signed the big deal, and we sort of did the best of those 3 albums, because no one had heard them any apart from Britain and Ireland, you know. And then came Power and Passion and Growing Up the Hard Way, and that's all we've done. So we've only, as I said, 3 worldwide releases, really. You know.
So how well is the new album selling?
It's going very well. I mean, we're only 2,000 behind Queensryche in France.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many?
We're only 2,000 albums behind Queensryche in France, and that's really, really good for a band that hasn't played France since 1987. You know, and we've had virtually no coverage in the press, no coverage in anything. So we were doing remarkably well. We're doing a big festival out there. We're headlining 25,000 people in Saint-Tropez.
When's this?
Coming later on, I think it may be in August.
Who's on with there? What the bands are playing?
I don't know the band yet. All I know is that we're the top band we're playing there, you know. And there's a few other French bands as well, you know. But we're actually headlining the show. And then we go back into Germany and we go into Austria. And we may be playing with Extreme in France as well.
Extreme,
yeah. The 2 of us together.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Really?
Not bad. Yeah, I don't mind some of the stuff, like the new single, it gets a bit boring after hearing it.
Yeah, well, you know,
when you go to discos, they're always playing.
I know, it's a bit overkill situation, yeah, and I tend to agree with you there, you know. And but we'll probably be playing together in France. So we'll be doing maybe a tour of France together. There's a possibility of that. So things are really looking up for the band, you know. We're going to Spain, and we're going to Russia as well.
Russia?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Italy, yeah. So I mean, things are really building for the band again, and
That's all for Music for Nations, like being on this label.
It's more of all being for ourselves.
Yeah.
They really haven't got that much to do with it at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not slagging them off or anything. I'm just telling you the truth.
Yeah.
It's more pushing ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we're not signed. Because we're not signed to Music for Nations. We only gave them the album. They gave us a bit of money for recording it, and that was it.
Is this a one-off album?
It's just a one-off thing. We didn't want to sign to anybody. No, we're not allowing anybody any control of us at all.
So what's the next LP? What label is that going to be on?
Well, we don't know yet. We haven't made up our mind what we're going to do in terms of that. We probably might try and self-finance it ourselves because we do much better that way.
Yeah.
And we're in control of it, you know. Now, if we only sell 15,000, we probably made a huge profit in terms of a record company doing an album.
Yeah.
We would probably have to sell 150,000 before we'd see anything. You know what I'm saying? Because they take with one hand and take with another. You know, they give with one hand and take with another. You're talking about percentage. We only need to clear 15,000 albums, and we are well up. You know. So this is how so many of the bands survive. You know.
Yeah.
Especially the hardcore bands, because I admire them a great deal. A lot of the thrash bands, because they get themselves off the ground. And they get themselves up and running, you know, and they actually have big followings. And you think, you know, I've never heard of this band, I've never heard of that, you know, and these bands are shifting albums, I can tell you.
Yeah, even to that sort of music, do you like any of that?
Oh, I love it. There's a great deal of it. I mean, there's lots of little bands. I like Annihilator and all that type of stuff. I really do like Pantera. They're one of my favourite bands, and I've been into them for years, you know.
Ever since the first albums, but you just got to get them in England.
That's right.
The first 3 albums.
That's right. I have one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Is
it something in the jungle?
Yeah.
Have you got that one? Have you?
No. I've only got Power Metal and Cowboys from Home.
Right. Well, if you like, I'll try and make you a copy of that, or I might send you the original.
I've got my address anyway, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll try and if you'd like that, I'll get it for you.
Please, great. Yeah.
No, I'll do that.
Yeah. You got the other one, Power Metal?
No, I haven't got that because they gave them to me. They mean a lot to me, you know, because the Galley lads really gave them, and we had a great time together and everything, you know, and that was the album they were promoting at the time, you know, which is a fucking great album.
Cowboys from Home.
Yeah, and the other one, something in the jungle. What's it called?
I know which one it is. I can't
you know, something in the jungle. It's called Something in the Jungle, and but it's a fucking great album, really good album. You know, and I love it, you know.
Yeah.
So, I admire all those bands because they've been around the same time as us, believe it or not. They really have.
Yeah, they've been going a long time.
Yeah.
When it just broke out when you were old.
That's correct, you know.
It's like the other stuff was on their own level.
That's right. And I like, of course, I've always liked Metallica, and I've always will, you know, I think they're a great band.
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking love the power of the band, you know. I love their albums, you know. And lots of different bands I like, you know.
What bands have you actually toured with in your career then?
In where?
In your career, since you've been...
Oh God, we've toured with Dizzy. We've worked with Purple. Scorpions, UFO, Rush, Rat, Bon Jovi, Y&T, Twisted Sister.
He's a big Y&T fan.
Really, yeah. A lot, you know. We've done hosts of bands, I can't even remember half of them, you know.
Wow.
You know.
It's good. Which is the biggest concert you played to?
Nebworth. Yeah, 85,000 for Deep Purple. That was a tremendous day because we were in Oklahoma the night before, and we flew direct to New York, from New York to Nebworth, and we went on stage, and with 20 minutes to get changed, and the following afternoon we were in Minneapolis, finished playing at 2 o'clock. Yeah. We're finished at 2 o'clock with Iron Maiden. We played with Maiden as well, I forgot that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the audiences like in Europe when you go, like Germany?
Brilliant.
Do you get any slam down and all this stuff?
No.
Because sometimes they go to get them.
No, not at all.
Right. Because the Germans are a bit crazy, aren't they?
Right. No, not at all. I haven't come across that. On the odd occasion you do, but I mean, that's power for the cause, you know. If they want to do that, good luck to them, you know. There's no skin of our nose as long as they don't hurt themselves, you know. That's all I'm interested in. I just think they're going to hurt themselves. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Remember the new album, how many you sold?
What? I have no idea. I think it's about... I think overall we must be around 35, 40,000.
Yeah, it's good.
Which I'm talking about all the countries.
Yeah.
You know, and it's good. It's really good. I mean, for an album that really was only meant to raise the profile of the band again. That's all. It wasn't meant to
Tell you that you're back on the scene.
Yeah, that's all it was. That's all it was for. It was like a little promotional album, you know.
Yeah.
And it's done very well. You know, and a lot of gigs have come out of it, you know.
I was surprised to see Music for Nations. I thought, that must be bloody hell.
Yeah. And we sort
major
of,
label,
that's
no?
right, yeah. No, they grabbed it immediately, you know. And but we didn't want to sign anybody.
Yeah.
You know, we've been through that. We got our fingers burned on a few occasions, and we're not prepared to do it again.
If you do your own label, you're going back to the old label that you was on before, you're going to have a new name.
I don't know. It's like, I don't know what way we do it. No, I'd probably be, what's this we're going to call it? Closer to Music, CTM.
Will you be signing any bands on this label?
Well, yeah, I think there are a few bands on it already. In Germany and in Austria and in Switzerland. There's a few bands from there already on it, and it's called CTM, and it's Closer to Music.
Yeah.
Because we're fed up with all the crap that's around, all the bullshit involved in trying to put out a record and band, you know. So we've named it Closer to Music, you know. Let's get down to the real nitty gritty, and it's the music that counts.
I like our sing and play guitar in a band, we're looking for a record.
Yeah.
Right, what can I ask you next? When's your next album going to be out?
Well, hopefully we would like to start thinking about doing an album at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And have it for next year. You know, to try and raise the profile again and really have a serious studio album.
Yeah, will the song Rescue be on it?
It might.
I hope so.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good song.
Yeah,
that.
it is. It's a good song. You know, that's our socially aware song. We say, you know, it's about the hostages in Beirut.
Yeah.
And that's what the song's about, you know, so it's not all, I mean, we have some funny songs and some laughable songs and some good old headbanging songs, but we also we're aware of what goes on, but I don't believe really in mixing it too much with what we do.
I noticed One of My Dreams has got a lot of heavy years.
That's right, yes it has, yeah, yeah.
Really?
I think the band's playing heavier than we've ever played, you know, and we've always liked that element. I think people were disappointed when we didn't do it, you know, and Growing Up the Hard was quite a departure for us. And I think we're back on the right trail now.
What would happen if you decided to go thrash? Would you do it, or would you just...
I wouldn't do it.
No.
I don't think...
You like listening to it, but you wouldn't...
I don't think I could do it. I don't think I know how to do it, you know. I mean, we could do it, all right, but I just think I'd be jumping on the bandwagon, you know. And if you don't believe in something, if you haven't got a feel for it, there's no point in doing it. There's so many bands that are so good at doing it, you know. It's like the list is endless. Like I like scat opera and bands like that, you know. Really interesting approach they have to what they do.
There's a band from where I live called Reanimator. They're on the same label as...
Right, yeah. And I bet you they're doing well as well.
Yeah.
But
the same town as us.
Yeah. But that's the whole thing, you know. You've got to persist. That's all it is, and eventually you'll get there.
Yeah. Right. Have you anything to say to any fans reading Friday the 13th?
Oh yeah, that we're really glad that the British tour. This was the last night. Virtually, we finished in Astoria Friday night, and we've had a really good tour.
Yeah.
And we'd like to thank all the people that came out and remembered the band.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely be seeing them again. And we'd like to say that we're here to stay.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Pat. Thank you very much.